What's up, Andy? Hello, Jade. Hey, Ghost. Oh, hi, Ghost. I am still doing good. Enjoying the music, getting in the mood, setting the stage. How is you? Well, I wouldn't know. I don't have much in the way of extraneous social media. I mean, yeah, it really sucks, don't get me wrong, especially since you know who it is, which is always the worst. I'm hoping you guys can hear me all right. Yeah, okay. Sometimes the audio settings get all funky. There we go. Yeah, close enough. We're just talking tonight anyway. So I'm just going to switch it over to talk time. I know the ads still got like 30 seconds. Wow, it's like thinking it's laggy. At least no echo, 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 echo. Right? I always get confused because the streaming software, good. Yeah, I figured. And there you are. Or at least should be. Good. Cool. I'm gonna just work on, I mean, that's actually one of the things, you know, I kind of wanted to talk about is just that I'm gonna be working on, you know, because here pretty soon I should be getting that drawing tablet to do drawing streams on occasion. Well, probably work it into the schedule. Nice. Very nice. You know, I'll have to beta test and get it all worked out. Working on your third. Very nice. It's been so many years since I've dealt with any kind of artwork. Other than like goofing off here and there. Well, I use the Twitch money, you know, which isn't much right now. I think I'm getting like 60 some odd bucks this time around, but it's enough to buy the drawing tablet I was looking at, which is, I mean, it's just a cheap drawing tablet. I'm not expecting a whole lot. But yeah, rolling in the dough. Yeah. That's every 2 months, by the way. I haven't got more than once a month, and welcome in Infinite. And you know, I want to start doing the drawing streams, probably either a Thursday or Friday. I haven't got it yet because I have to wait to get paid. The one I was looking at was just a cheap Huion, but it's reviewed well and not just on Amazon itself, but through others. Like it's only like 45 bucks. Like I'm not expecting a whole lot out of it. I just want to be able to draw while I'm sitting there. while I'm sitting here trying to talk to you guys, and just, let the hand move while the brain does its own thing, and just do whatever, and just like show what I'm doing on the screen is the hope. Otherwise, I also plan on working on, I have this old creative writing book from college. Oh yeah, the Waccoms. Yeah, they're good. I bought my oldest a Wacom way back. It was a $300 one, 3, 4, 5. No, I think it was a $600 one. Basically it was full digital. Basically it was a touchscreen monitor. So I won't be able to see what I'm drawing. I'll have to look at the screen and move my hand down on the tablet. But I mean, what I'm gonna do. I don't even know what I'm gonna like draw or anything right off the bat. I don't like have any like plans other than just try and get better. Oh, I know I can. I have been able to do. See, way back in grade school, high school, I worked to try and become a good artist. But I found that I work best if I don't plan anything, and if I just empty my head and just draw whatever comes. So sometimes that can just be a complete abstract, or I can sit there and try and do a face. There was a time when I was able to do like abstract representationism, where you're using abstract shapes and stuff to represent, to like, it looks like the image. It's kind of cool. I'm not saying I'm good at it. I'm saying that I was able to at least be able to know what I was doing. It was fun. But I have a creative writing book from my college days, and I just plan on doing the exercises, because there's 365 exercises. Once a day, write 2K to 5K words. Sure, fancy cubism. Yeah. My ultimate idea is to actually, instead of using AI to make my screens, is use my own artwork. Even if it's going to be a downgrade, at least it's me doing it. And then use DaVinci and do all the effects that I do, play with it like that. Or maybe use see if I can use AI to shade the image or color the image. What can I do in working with AI in hand? Because I want to learn how to use it as a tool. And while I haven't been super happy with what I get out of AI for the most part, in some things, in other things, I'm perfectly happy with it. I just want to see, I just want to play. I mean, to be honest, it's not that I think it's the future or anything like that. It's going to take anybody's damn job. I want to do it because I want to learn. That's legitimately all it really comes down to, is that I've always been a person that loves to learn. And that's what I want to do. And like I said, with the writing, I've got this writing prompt book. Like, so I get a daily writing prompt. And just write from there, 2,000, 5,000 words, try to put myself on a time limit, like 15, 20 minutes, and just see what I come up with. Maybe I'll continue. Woohoo. Yeah, for some reason, mine keeps resetting. So I stopped worrying about the streaks, because I know I'm there watching my people. But for some reason, Twitch doesn't like to go, oh yeah, you're watching. And it annoys me. It really does annoy me that it just wants to play with it.
How scary do you like your movies?
Pretty scary. Green Jeans, you used to use this one all the time, and you have not yet. And I am going to play it now because I think it's funny, and I did a lot of work into it. You've been struck by a truck. That. I did some work on that, and I thought it was hilarious. Andy's the only one that's seen it, and nobody else was there. Yes, Twitch is being a bitch, and it does. I don't know if anybody else likes it, but I like it. And it's from the movie Meet Joe Black, which that's literally the only scene I remember from it. And anytime somebody clicks that button, it's what I think of because it's almost perfectly timed. Oh yeah, save up your points. No, that's fine. That's why I played it. You played it yesterday or the day before, and nobody's done any more. It should say greenie sound. Yeah, it should. Apparently Greenie likes it.
You've
been
Ghost. You've been struck by a truck.
I tried to
I'm
time
not the boss of you. Fucking get arrested. I don't care.
Exactly. I tried to time because that's actually me redoing even the voice so that I could time it just right. To be perfectly honest, I actually had to re-record the audio for truck so that it was timed properly. And I think it's funny that it starts with no sound and just, Brad Pitt looking around. And Soup. Oh, Soup is one of my favorites. And that's from one of Ghost streams that I asked to borrow it. To be honest, it wants your soup. It wants your soup. I love Soup, to be honest. And that's, I don't care. I guess the bigger thing is that I don't really care. Yes. Maybe. Probably. I just remember he and I were playing that Escape the Backrooms together or whatever game it was. And my brain was just, all over the place. Going to play your favorite? Go ahead. Oh my. Sorry, I kind of stepped on it, but oh my. Which is funny because I stole that from George Takei. Provide soup. But I remember in, going back to talking about writing. Oh, wait. I always have to readjust the headphones after listening to that one. But I remember in junior high, we used to do these things for English that were like the first 10 minutes of class were just creative writing, just write out whatever you want. But there was also sometimes a prompt on the board. And I wrote like this continuing story every day. Oh, there you go. I'm just going to sit there and draw. That's the idea, is just sit there with it and draw. I've thought about, I shall keep the gates. I've thought about asking Raven and Jay about, on the Discord server, there's that story thing, and possibly writing out the, doing the prompt a day, like putting out the prompt and then finding some way to pin it so people can find it. Like we do the Wordle, but, on that story thing, but put the prompt per day and then just have people use it to write and just see what other people write if they feel like it, and I would post whatever I write. And the prompts are something, they're just exercises to get your brain working. That's literally all it is. Yeah, it's a cherry Coke. And cheeseburger. No, I don't have a cheeseburger. Cheeseburger sounds good though. Not unless they make it in zero flavor, because I can't have corn syrup. I don't know, Andy. Do you know what is funny? Year of the cherry. I'll have to look it up to see if they make a zero flavor, because Icon has cheeseburger. Man, I remember when Icon has cheeseburger was the place you went on the net for memes. Burger King, Ranch King. I normally get the Texas Double Whopper. That's my favorite. The timing. It's really hit and miss. You know, Burger King, like McDonald's almost always has. Ooh, that's actually kind of a fun one too. You know, that does sound like a fun chain. Silver lining one. Ooh, that would be fun to sit there and flip back and forth. Like one person says, oh, it could always be worse. And then the next person behind has to find the silver lining in what the person is saying. I don't know. I've never been more than, you know, maybe 2.5 guys. But I wouldn't want to know what 5 of, you know, being 5 times the size would be. Oh my. But when I was going back to, you know, junior high, when I was in junior high and we did those stories, I actually kept writing on the same story. And this was with an English teacher that I had a really good rapport with. Yeah, Freddy's, I wasn't as impressed with. They're okay. They're not bad. I'm not saying they're like a terrible place, but I mean, if I'm going to spend the money, and see, that's the other thing is with Burger King, they're damned expensive for what you get. That's what annoys me. Oh, yeah. Writing stanzas for poems. I liked Culver's. Freddy's, the burgers I've had from there are just too flat and crispy. They're meat cookies and they're cooked way too done. You know, I mean, I don't know. You know, I'm trying to do something more creative because, I mean, to be perfectly honest, looking at what's happening with YouTube right now and trying to gain an audience on YouTube is so hard that I just want to turn my brain off and just be creative and quit worrying about how to make it a business. Okay. Well, my big thing is burgers. Now, I know people like burgers all sorts of different ways. I'm not going to call somebody bad because they don't make a burger I like. But I will say that, okay, Freddy's is too flat and crispy. You know, I like my burgers with juice, you know, and that's why I don't particularly like the smash burger craze, because they make them too flat and there's no juice inside. They're just meat cookies. Which, I mean, if you want a meat cookie, that's fine. I know plenty of friends that like meat cookies. Hell, my mom, you know, you always had to burn hers. I couldn't tell the difference between the charcoal and her burger, but that's how she wanted it. Stuffed burgers, yeah, I know how to make those too. Well, see, and if the smash burgers are a little greasy, that's fine, but I've also not been a particular fan of Sonic's food. They're not bad. Again, it's not bad. They're pretty decent, but I'd rather go to Whataburger for the price. Ooh, Colby Jack. See, me, it would be Pepper Jack. What's up, Green Jeans? Weren't you already here? Yeah, you were already here. Didn't you already say hi to Jade? Like, I'm confused. I would have swore. Whoops, went too far. Maybe you didn't. Oh, yeah. What's a second cheese that pairs well with pepper jack? What do you want? I mean, do you want more spicy, like a pepper cheese? If you do, a jalapeno Havarti works really good. If you want something like Green Jeans was just saying, if you wanted something to tone down the heat, a smoked Gouda would be great. If you want to sharpen the bite of the pepper without actually adding more, you could always go with a sharp white cheddar. Provolone's a creamy cheese. It would actually kind of taste like a jalapeno popper, but not really. I definitely wouldn't do a Swiss. Swiss is too nutty, and it would just combat with the flavor. If I'm trying to blend the flavors, it's either jalapeno Havarti or not blend the flavors. If I'm trying to, mozzarella. You can never go wrong with mozzarella because mozzarella is a carrier of flavor. It doesn't have a whole lot of flavor of its own. Going to the deli. Yeah, good. Does a good cheese pull. Mozzarella is also great. So you take a thicker slice of cheddar cheese, take 2 of those, and then you take a thin slice of mozzarella, and you layer that inside a grilled cheese sandwich, especially if you have a panini press, sandwich press. And you make a grilled cheese out of that, you get that wonderful cheese pull from your grilled cheese and that nice sharp cheddar flavor that you always expect from a grilled cheese. That's the only way to elevate a grilled cheese, in my personal opinion, because doing anything more, you're just doing too much. Oh, hell yeah. Hot grilled sandwiches. I need to get a sandwich press. I love hot sandwiches. I mean, the other day, the wife accidentally left her chicken salad here. She normally uses that in her lunches at work. And, I used to have a whole setup for making my own bread. Like this little dough or this little silicone bowl that you mix all the dough in. And then you just snap it together and it makes, it's a loaf pan itself. So it literally was the mixer bowl, and then you snapped it together and it would make the loaf. It ended up being a loaf pan. And it was just meant to make small loaves individually. And unfortunately, when I moved, I had to leave it behind. Yeah, the neighbors that ended up getting my, yes, I need a new one. The only problem is that I got that from Bespoke Post. Oh, my wife used to make Dutch oven bread, which, I mean, that stuff was so good, but it was a cast iron Dutch oven. And so it had taken all the seasoning out of the cast iron Dutch oven. We had to re-season it. It was funny. We should have lined it, but we didn't because we liked the cast iron flavor to the exterior of the bread. And it was a big cast iron Dutch oven. I think it was a 5-quart, 4-quart, somewhere in that neighborhood. But yeah, the thing I used to get was from Bespoke Post, which the only reason why I quit it is because I was moving and I didn't have the money for it, and I just haven't had the money to get it back. I love Bespoke Post. I know a while back they were, everybody was talking about it, but it was just fun getting that subscription box every once in a while. And I mean, I still have a bunch of stuff that I use on a regular basis. Like this pocket knife. See if I can get it into the better light. You can't really see the color. Oh, maybe. Focus. Well, anyway, it's a really pretty blue. And that wood that's on the sides is made from recycled skateboard decks, which I thought was really cool. My old cocktail set came from Bespoke Post. And at the time, it was only like $45 a month, which the money we were making, that was pretty decent amount of money. And the only bad things I ever got from Bespoke Post were bad things for me, not bad things in general. It's just, I thought it'd be cooler. But it wasn't worth it for me. I mean, shoot, that's where I got my Moscow Mule set. That's where I got my South American hot chocolate set with the terracotta oh. Well, good luck on your LARPing this weekend. I also got mint and julep cups, which were pure silver cups. I mean, this was all just for $45 a month. And there was plenty of stuff I kept planning on getting. And how it works, just in case people care, is that they have standards for a long time. So you can, but you can pick each month what you want to get. And they have seasonal things, but they also have like these standards that are basically there for a long time. Or at least that's how it worked back in the day. And I really enjoyed it. Now, is Bespoke Post still what it was back then? I don't know. It's been about a year. But I will tell you that the quality of everything I got, absolutely loved it. Yes, exactly. You always got to find new ways to thwart the DM's plans or your enemy, whoever. But I don't know, there's a whole lot of things to being creative that I think we forget that sometimes just turning off our brain and letting our hands, our fingers doing what they want to do is probably one of the best things. If you're a writer, grab a book. Well, here, give me a second. I'm gonna tell you what the kind of prompts there are in this book that I'm talking about. Now, there's a whole thing in, it's a whole textbook called the Creative Writing Guide. Which edition was it? I don't know. I don't know the edition. This is from years and years and years ago. There we go. This one is printed in 98 originally. I know that's not when I bought it, but because this is back when I was in college. I mean, it was at least 10 years old then. Right? Back on the Wild Wild West. Hey, what's up? XO, how you doing? Is friendship and tomfoolery? Kind of, actually. That's what I'm doing too. So like writing every day is this, it's 365 journal prompts. It's literally one a day. So like the first one is, what are your writing goals for the year? Simple prompt to just try to think about what you plan on doing. Oh, I'm sorry that your tummy hurts. And, it starts out, fairly simple. What would your life be like if you were always hungry? Speaking of tummy hurts. Create a character who never goes outside. I feel called out. You are a strong girly, and I too have the hurtiest of tummies. If you were to equate yourself with a flower, what flower best describes you and why? These are just the kind of prompts, and just the idea is to stretch your brain, get creative, and just goof off. Technically I could have turned this book in. I think I missed out on like $15 because it was a $40 book. Yeah, $40. Any other store would be $20. Well, no, if you want The Last Dandelion, play with it. That's the point is you just play with the idea. Like here, write a short piece about a character who is not human. Write your own personals ad. Write your acceptance speech for your Oscar for best screenplay. Define boredom. Just... Yes, exactly. I'm just saying, that's the idea, is that I use the prompts, write, and see where I go. Hello, Ninetails. Glad to see you in. Its seeds scatter to the wind, touring the world. And hopefully soon, it will not be the last dandelion. Yeah, said the sloth. Ice Age. See, I got it before it all ended up being in chat. Like literally right at the same time it came through. But you guys technically thought about it before I did, because that's the way the chat delay works. Sorry, I was checking my beard. I think I cut it a little bit thin. Yeah, I love Ice Age. Is it even? I try, but it's all, hand done. Oh, exactly. It always grows back. It only takes me about a couple of weeks. Except for, the chin scruff here. Once it starts getting warmer, I'm probably just going to get the sides and leave the goatee for a while just to reform the beard. Saffron oil? No. Oh yeah, hair shall grow. Not always. To be honest. Because that's just, it don't want to grow back. Oh yeah. See, what's funny is that with the beard longer, it looks like I have less gray in my beard than when I cut it back. It looks like a lot more gray. It's funny. But the salt and the pepper. Yes, exactly. See what's funny, 2K? I used to have hair almost all the way down to my belt line. Yeah, it was longer than the middle of my back. And then I had to go get a job after, Yeah, I used to have long hair. The funny thing is that the bangs, the front, I knew I was going to go bald early on. The front would only grow down to here. The back, right? The back grew just fine. My bangs in front, I literally had a natural mullet from when I was a child. Like, I just couldn't grow the top here long. The longest it ever got was to the bottom of my chin. I just literally had a natural mullet. But I unfortunately, I lost all the pictures where I had the long hair in a flood, and they were never digitized. But I had to go get a job, so I just buzzed it off because I was getting a job in security. So I just buzzed it down. And oh no, it was fine, 2K. I was growing up at the time when mullets were in fashion and everybody had them. You know, mid to late 80s or late 80s, early 90s. You know, I was in high school in the 90s. Somewhat. But, you know, I always had a naturally growing mullet, which is fine. I mean, everybody liked it. I liked it. And I never really thought about it until I was in high school and realized that when I grew my hair long, you were born when I was in high school. Because I would have graduated in 98 if I had not dropped out. Yes, I am a high school dropout. And a college dropout. But I did get my GED. Well, I was born in 79. Which apparently is a magical year range from 75 to like 85 or something like that. I don't take any shame from it. I was bored. You want my opinion on this? Is it heaven or hell marriage dynamic? Well, that depends on the marriage. My marriage is pretty much heaven. You know, even with all the stress that has been put on our marriage, her and I are strong. I mean, I don't know many guys who would be a teacher married to a man who didn't even graduate middle school or high school. Depends on the man. Just because you drop out or didn't graduate doesn't mean you're dumb. Doesn't mean you stopped learning. I mean, I didn't stop learning. I mean, well, he didn't learn. That'd be kind of hell if he just chooses not to learn. I mean, it really depends on the people. But it sounds to me, this would be my point of view. A teacher married to a man who didn't graduate middle school or high school sounds like she would rather be married to one of her students. Right. Well, that's what I'm saying is that, you know, one, education. I met college professors that I would consider myself smarter than in every other aspect other than their area of study. Like, they couldn't even manage their own finances, let alone, you know, like just how to go through daily life. But on their subject, they were pretty smart. Everything else, they just couldn't be bothered. And yeah, they made enough money to make their mistakes not hurt too bad, but they would never get ahead. Well, yeah. Well, technically, it was in the first stage of nerddom. Well, if he went to join the Air Force, that means he had to have a reasonable aptitude. Air Force doesn't take people that don't have a reasonable aptitude. So that makes it even worse, in my opinion, because it means he could have learned. He chooses not to. Because the Air Force, you have to have I guess it really depends on what he ended up doing in the Air Force. If he was just a radar ranger, yeah, you're right. Probably didn't, have to do much. He had to be smart enough to sit there and read a radar. Mechanic, nope, you need a reasonable aptitude. Especially Air Force mechanic. That's actually pretty high level of mechanics. Now, does that mean that he's good at anything else? No. Kitty, you're a butt. I moved the camera. Your green blanket's right there, and you are sitting just out of camera view. Well, I guess the thing is that, was he happy? I mean, I never want to push somebody to do more than they want to do. My dad was happy, even though he was more intelligent than the job he did. He was happy being a heavy equipment operator, anything from a diesel semi to heavy, earth moving equipment. He did it all. And he was happy doing it. And he was really good at it. Same with my dad. He never had anything to say that wasn't critical of me or my siblings. The fact is, though, is that he was happy in his job. He was always proud of the work he did. He just couldn't be proud of his kids because they weren't doing what he did. That was the one thing my dad could never make peace with, was that his kids weren't him. That none of us wanted to follow in his footsteps. We weren't heavy equipment operators. Even though I could do it, I just wasn't happy with it. I even tried a couple of times to be, a professional driver, which I'm still one of the better drivers I know. I wouldn't say I'm the best, but I'm one of the better. And I've never been happy driving. And most people really don't know what they want to be. Well, actually, that kind of touches on a subject I wanted to talk about too. Well, the dynamic with family is always different than the dynamic that same person would have with someone else. It is so hard to really get people to understand that family will always treat you different. They don't even intend to do it. They just will. And as sad as it is, that's just the way of things. You can't help yourself. I mean, being a dad with 2 grown adult kids, there's still things that I can't stop myself from doing, no matter how much I try. I do my best not to talk down to them. Okay. But the other part I was going to talk about is that for any of you 20-somethings in my audience, which I know there's a few, always remember, you always have time. Don't let the world fool you that you have to do all of this before a certain time. That's bullshit. And take me as an example. I dropped out of high school, went and got my GED, did a bunch of jobs, went to college, homeschooled my kids because they wanted to be homeschooled, had a night job so that it wouldn't interfere with what my kids were doing. It was just a part-time night job. I was just cleaning movie theaters. So that tells you how late it was. And I homeschooled the kids. Not officially. Both my kids went and got their GED, no problem. And they're both high functioning people in society. I mean, hell, my youngest just graduated special effects art college, whatever you want to call it. Technical school, special effects makeup. Well, glam makeup too, even though that's not particularly why she did it. But, Tater just graduated 2 months ago. Little under 2 months ago. And she's happy. You know, she wants to get a job in that field, but right. Makeup, I mean, special effects, makeup art, you know, she knew was going to be a hard one to dig into, especially when you're not wanting to do the glamour makeup too much. You know, she doesn't want to do weddings. She doesn't want to do that. I mean, she'll do it if she really, really has to, but it's not her favorite thing. Hers is the airbrush creature effects. Like, she actually did this really cool looking for her final project. Like a person turning into a living scarecrow, like becoming a monster. So the stitching and the burlap was half faced. And it ended up looking really good. Wasn't perfect, but there was some cool things, you know. I mean, especially when you think in the college thing. Right. Exactly. She's done some really good stuff. And now basically she's working with one of her professors and they're collaborating on portfolios. Well, then that's kind of where she is. They don't have an all year, but there's like a bar or something near that always does like dress up and stuff. And the bar she's going to be working at doesn't really care about uniforms and stuff like that, and does the, like, it seems like a more relaxed atmosphere that she might be able to get away with more of her dramatic makeup effects. And luckily she's in a college town, so she can get away with doing stuff. Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, especially with what she can do with stuff around the house. You know, not even professional makeup. What she can do with just random crap. You know, she's done some really good makeup effects that way. And I'm sure that, you know, I mean, she's just going to get better. And especially with a lot of the more independent projects like Iron Lung, which has encouraged a whole lot of more people to do independent projects, are focusing on practical effects rather than CGI or AI effects. They, you know, I think that, you know, she'll be in demand here soon. To be perfectly honest. And one of her teachers, like, to tell you how good she was and how consistently good she was throughout college, one of her professors forgot to grade her work because that was just the assumption she passed. Like, oh yeah, we know you got this. And Tater's like, yeah, but I kind of actually need a grade on it. And like, oh yeah. Like, I mean, that tells you how much confidence her professors had in her. Right? Well, not just pass, but in the final month or so, she was also student of the month or quarter or whatever. Basically, she was the last best student, which means, like, that's the culmination of everything. And she was considered the best of everything. So, I mean, Tater's got it made. Will she ever make like tons and tons of money at it? I don't know. I hope so. But more importantly to me is she's happy. You know, she's getting what was it? Grill/bar help. Right? Well, and that's what I love about Fallout. Fallout TV show uses practical effects everywhere they can. Even those big, stompy, you know, mech suits are practical. They literally built suits that you can walk around in. and they just do some detail work with CGI. Just like with the ghoul, the only thing that's CGI is the tip of his nose. That's the only thing that they had to CGI out was the tip of his nose, because the ghoul's not supposed to have a nose. And it's awesome. And I don't need to wish Tater the best, because Tater is doing her best. She's enjoying her life. I mean, I just talked to her Monday. It would not surprise me. I know that was a big deal with the showrunners of the Fallout show, was getting the props right. Not just the suits, because I mean, even the guns are proper. Even the vaults, the stages that they do the vaults in are awesome looking. They do a great job with it. Having been, quite a long time Fallout fan, I can tell you that their design for those places is dead spot perfect. Like, beautiful work. Sorry, I've got a hangnail and I'm trying to get rid of it. Really bugs me, which also means I've been dehydrated and I didn't realize I wasn't getting enough water. Thought I was, but so I've just had to step it up. But I mean, to be honest, that's what I'm focusing on. Is I'm trying to be a little bit more creative, trying to step back from all the political crap. I am not clicking on that. You went from Bing. Yes. Yeah, at Emerald City Comic Con that I went to in 2018. I think it was 2018. Give me a second. Yeah, 2018. I was dead on. Yeah, I still have the badges for the days. It's the only con I've ever been to. But from Thursday to Sunday, we went for Emerald City Comic Con, March 2018. 1st through the 4th. I just hydrated. I mean, I was given this pin by David Tennant himself. And if you haven't seen Bad Samaritan, it's worth watching. Yeah, that's why I still have the pin for Bad Samaritan. Yeah, I actually got to meet David Tennant. David Tennant and Billy Piper. I will say, David Tennant, I know I've mentioned this before, one hell of a personality to be around. Like, he loves the fan. It's not a show. He doesn't just do it for the money. Like, he just absolutely loves seeing what the fans do. There was this one couple that she dressed up as Billy Piper. He dressed up as David Tennant and as the TARDIS. Oh, she already laid down, so now you can't see her. Oh, nice. And what I mean by that is that he's the guy dressed up as the TARDIS, quote unquote, because he made a blue police call box with one glass panel, and inside was like a tricycle unicycle thing. So he had these pedals so he could wheel the TARDIS around as he's watching. And he had like this steering. It was kind of like it was a weird platform. You could tell the guy did a whole lot of work to it. And then, you open the doors and there's him dressed as the Doctor. And inside he did, he tried to make it look bigger on the inside using tricks of paint and all of that. And he and his girlfriend, or whoever was with him, maybe it wasn't his girlfriend, maybe they did this as a team somehow else, but they were waiting in their turn in line. And, you could see, because there was a glassed in enclosure where you're waiting in line, and where you go to see the people is like this glassed area. And David Tennant could see these guys standing there, and he realized the work that they put into it. So he literally didn't have them go to the head of the line. He came out to the line because it wasn't quite open yet. So he came out to the line and was talking to him, having them show him all of this stuff. There was also this lady in one of those motorized scooters that decorated it like a weeping angel. And he when he noticed her, he went down the line, started talking with her, and the bodyguards and handlers are all like, David, we need you back in where we can protect you. And he's like, ah. And then, like he's literally waving them off because he's excited about what the fans have done. And he just keeps seeing more in line. Finally, the bodyguards literally just like stood in front of him and were like, no, you're going too far away. All right. But he had such a great sense of time that none of it was delayed. Like he knew how long it would take them to get ready. He was paying attention to time, which I find funny that David Tennant, good sense of time, he just stopped. He's like, yeah, it's about time anyway that they got started. Didn't even look at his clock. Didn't even, right? See, exactly, Green Jeans. That's what I was joking about. Just, turns around, goes back in, and he sat down just perfect time. And then when me and my buddy got up there to, have our stuff signed and stuff like that, he noticed that I didn't have anything to sign. And I'm like, oh no, this is my buddy. And he just kind of looked at me and I'm like, oh no, I'm a fan. I just didn't have the money to pay for anything. This was a special trip. And there's things that I'm paying for on this trip to pay for my way because he bought the tickets. I just didn't have the extra money. And David's like, well, then here you go. You can tell everybody that you were given this pen by the Doctor. And I even actually went out of my way to watch the movie Bad Samaritan. Watching David Tennant as a villain was wonderful. He did a great job. He was a great villain. Just saying. Pretty impressive. But ads about to pop up, so I will be back in about 5 minutes. And I'm back. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight isn't so creative or whatnot. I wanted to talk a little bit about some drugs I've been hearing about. Now, everybody knows the first wave of these drugs. Most likely anyway. And that's the Ozempic, Wegovy, also known as GLP-1s. Now, the GL, I don't remember what it stands for, but the P is peptide. So apparently, because these were so good, there's a whole bunch of people getting on these peptide drugs, which are good for anything from weight loss to helping you tan. Like they're the miracle drug that's going to make everything better, and I don't have to actually work out. My muscles will get better while I sleep because I'm using this peptide, which is entirely possible. The only problem is side effects. We don't know what it's really going to do. And there's all sorts of them. I mean, apparently these people are getting them off the black market from Chinese research companies, supposedly. Now, this is the part I really wanted to talk about, not necessarily the peptides, but how big pharmaceutical works. Now, they're releasing these formulas through Chinese research labs to see what works and what doesn't. Because these people are putting their journeys on Reddit pages, on Instagram, on whatever. And they're finding out these drug interactions with people. They're using them as the test bed, even though this is all pretty closely illegal. If it's not illicitly illegal, the way they're getting these drugs is pretty damned illegal. Now, there's some that you can buy off the market that are legal to sell because they haven't been controlled yet. Because, FDA is so slow that it takes forever for them to even look at the possible issues with the drug. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, well, the GLP-1s, Wegovy, Ozempic, we're already seeing some side effects that are pretty bad in overuse. Like if you're subscribed it, you're, that's one thing. But we always have this issue with, like, I don't know if you've all seen, some of the movie stars and stuff and how they're getting the skeletal sucked in faces and how they're just looking like skeletons. I mean, I'm sorry. The biggest ones is the ladies from Wicked, Cynthia and Ariana. And I'm not trying to talk bad about these people because I'm just using them as an example of what happens. If you look at before pictures and you look at after pictures, it's night and day. It's scary. And it reminds me of the late 80s, early 90s epidemics of eating disorders. Loss of color coordination. Well, we don't really know. See, that's the problem, Green Jeans, is we don't really know. And that's really the issue is that they're letting other people do this, and it's in a completely uncontrolled environment. We don't know if, this one guy that he just manages to work on is a genetic anomaly, or if it's actually working, or if there's something else in his diet that he's not talking about that's making it work. But the other side of it is that the side effects of GLP-1s right now is that the food industry, because they're getting hit so bad about people not buying the chips, that, the junk food like they used to, because GLP-1s, you just don't crave it as much, supposedly. I really don't know. Obviously, I'm not taking them. But food companies are already trying to find ways around it. This is the side effect, the unintended side effect that I'm talking about. They're already trying to put additives to food to make you crave it, to basically make the food more addictive so that it overrides the GLP-1's effects. The only problem is that if you're not taking GLP-1s, your junk food, you're going to crave it even more. Like, you don't have a choice now. It is so addictive that it might as well, they're basically turning junk food into a Schedule 1 drug. It's no longer just, oh, I can't stop myself, but you really could if you really, really wanted to. It's for some people, I'm not trying to shame anybody. I'm not trying, GLP-1s have their place. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I mean. I'm saying that for the average person who isn't taking them, this makes everything so much worse. And it's not even the people's fault. It's these companies that don't understand that market shifts are market shifts. And they never made a plan for it. And it's who knows what these other effects are really going to be. And I have a feeling by 2030, we're going to have this tide of peptide. We're going to have a peptide tsunami of drugs that are supposed to help you build muscle, help you lose weight, help you focus more. Oh, it's good for your brain, and I've seen all of this stuff before. That's what I want to talk about, is that I've seen this stuff before. If Jade's still here, I know Jade will remember the Dexatrim fiasco. Or the, there was diet pills that had tapeworm eggs in them. Like, think about that. These were diet pills that were a hot topic. Everybody had to have it. It was the best way to lose weight. And it's because you're giving yourself a parasite. We joke about it, but we know that pharmaceutical companies, and right now, the Dexatrim, you remember what I'm talking about. I remember when I was a kid, you couldn't go 5 minutes without seeing a friggin' ad for them on TV. And we've already seen this before. How many of you take a daily vitamin? Like just yay or nay, how many of you take a daily vitamin? I'm really curious. If any of you. Okay. Why? Why do you take your daily vitamin? Green jeans? Some people actually have them doctor prescribed. Most people don't need to take them. In fact, most people won't realize that they're causing themselves more harm than good by taking a daily vitamin. Because most of your daily vitamins are uncontrolled substances. Sorry to say, they're uncontrolled. There is no checks and balance on what's in your daily vitamin. No. Well, one, really do some more research on melatonin. It doesn't really help you sleep. It's a placebo effect from what I understand in the research I did. What I mean by a daily vitamin is like a once daily. Like, some of you were raised on Flintstones. Right. Your body can't process the chemicals in most of your once a day vitamins. Like, you're literally not. And I mean, B12 and melatonin and muscle spasms, obviously. Mostly what muscle spasms is magnesium, phosphorus, and potassium. So a banana or a potato is what you really need once a day. A banana or a potato. B12, I take B12. It's in my emergency. I don't take the once a day vitamins because one, most of them don't work. They're garbage. They're uncontrolled substances. They don't even have to have in them what they say they have in them. And Green Jeans, I can guarantee you that most of your muscle spasms are from lack of nutrition, not lack of vitamin. That sounds weird, but vitamins, what most people think of as vitamins, aren't what they think. Because they're uncontrolled substances. We don't know what's in them. But if you can find, because most of muscle spasms, like I said, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium. That's what you need for muscle spasms. Take it with water, which you could find in most of your electrolyte drinks. Like Element, like Liquid IV, Emergency, your electrolyte additives to water. The actual pills, on the other hand, aren't as... That's the problem is that we have better quality, but nobody tells us. Again, banana or potato goes a long ways towards curing the muscle spasm. I know that from martial arts, ballet, and football. In fact, that's where I got the habit of eating raw potatoes. Because when you boil or fry potatoes, you're losing some of the vitamins. Not all of them, but you're losing some. So I just used to slice them up like chips, like you would like if you're going to cook chips, only it's just raw. Little salt, little pepper, nom, nom, nom. To me, I love them that way. I always have. Maybe it's because I'm Irish. Maybe it's because my family has a history of having a deficiency of potassium, magnesium, and phosphorus. Potatoes are probably one of the best things to do for that. Melatonin, do some more research, really dig into it, because there's the people that are telling you that melatonin is so good for sleep, so good for sleep, so good for sleep. But it's more of a placebo effect. You're told it's good for sleep, so you take it. But you'll eventually start getting a resistance to it. So you'll have to take more. Then your body doesn't want, then you build another resistance to it. And it just keeps going, because what you really need to do is figure out how to put yourself to sleep. Figure out why you're staying awake. 9 times out of 10, why you can't sleep is a mental problem. Not a vitamin problem. Not a nutritional problem. Your body's trying to tell you I'm missing something. That you're not thinking about something properly. You're not, you're bothered by something. Or you just haven't set up the proper timers. Or you have too much blue light before you go to bed. Like your phone screen, the laptop screen, your TV screen, without putting the proper, night filters on, the blue light blocking, which most computers, phones, everything have the nighttime mode where it cuts back on the blue light. I have specific habits I go into before I go to bed. So it doesn't matter what time I go to bed, but before I go to bed, I have a process, a habit pattern that I do every night. Oh yeah, night filters are very important. It's one of the reasons why if I can't change the temperature of my LED, like this light I have here, somewhere is the remote for it. Yeah. Oh, there it is. No, that wasn't it. Where is... Oh. See, technically, that's the bright light, the nice bright white light that it's supposed to have. Oh yeah, it's really good, really nice. But it is full of so much blue light that it wakes you up. your body doesn't want to go to sleep. I leave it on this setting because that's the warmer light. It's more of a yellow light, more like an old school incandescent bulb, which it's one of the reasons why a lot of people have trouble sleeping is because, yeah, people went through and they switched everything out to LED lights, not realizing that the temperature matters. The temperature of the light matters. Because blue light is sunlight. So you have a hard time going to sleep because your body still thinks the sun's up. At least on my computer, on the side, the settings, I can turn on nightlight mode. And nightlight mode basically does this blue light blocking. Which helps with you going to sleep. On my phone, there is a nightlight mode, which I don't remember where it is, but I know it, yeah, there. And it just ambers up the light so that it works better. It means that you're not being inundated with that blue light. It sends signals to your brain to stay awake because the sun's still up. You know, which a lot of the issues we have as people, you know, whether it's sleep, whether it's nutrition, is just from poor education. We have terrible education about what actually it means to take care of ourselves, to do things right. You know, and that's what bothers me. Is that we don't learn well enough to know what's good for us. And we always have to go with somebody that's an expert. Well, 9 times out of 10, those experts end up being complete BS artists. One of the biggest ones is like Dr. Oz. He used to be really good. Now he just scams his people. Like half of the crap is just scams. And that's a lot of these doctors will give you garbage. There are very few people that I trust. And even so, if I trust them, I'm still going through and doing my own research. Because that's important. Doing your own research on your own stuff is very important. It's just, I don't know how else to put it. Yeah, just do your research. You know, because what works for me is great. You know, perfect, wonderful. But what about what works for you? You know, I mean, just like with most people with ADHD, caffeine doesn't work properly. And it actually puts them to sleep. Like, that's how I know my wife is at least moderately ADHD. She can drink a Red Bull and she gets tired and goes to bed. Like, that's how she works. You know, don't just take my word for it. Please understand me. I am not trying to tell you that I know everything. You know, again, you know, like I said, with melatonin, I remember reading something about it, and that there's something about how it tricks the body, and it doesn't do a very good job at it. And that after time, it actually has the opposite effect. It's why I will tell people, instead of taking melatonin, take valerian root. Valerian root is what they used to make Valium out of. Valium is just very concentrated valerian root. Valerian root, you take it about a half hour to an hour before you go to bed, and you will sleep like the dead. And it'll help reset your sleep schedule. Because that's often what all is a person's problem. is all they need to do is reset their sleep schedule. Most people don't realize that it's your habit patterns that have screwed you up. And your body's kind of going haywire, and you have to reset that circadian rhythm, your sleep cycle. And we're told that we need this drug, we need that drug, not just a reset. You shouldn't be taking sleeping medication all the time. Sure, when you have issues with going to sleep, take your sleeping medication. But if you're having to do it every night, it's not working like it's supposed to. It is supposed to reset you. It shouldn't be addictive, which a lot of sleeping medications are. It's supposed to just help you get back on track. And if you have ADHD, melatonin's not going to work properly. Sorry. Just like with caffeine, if you have ADHD, your sleepy drugs aren't going to work properly. You have ADHD, drink a cup of coffee before you go to bed. That should put you to sleep. Right. It's supposed to lull you to sleep or help keep you out, which I guess a lot of people have trouble waking up. I used to have this thing where I couldn't go to sleep. Well, it took effort. It took work. I would go to bed and I would set an alarm 8 hours after I laid down. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what time I went to sleep. It mattered what time I went to bed. So if my body really wanted those 8 hours, when I went in and went to bed, it better go to sleep, because in 8 hours, it's waking, my alarm's waking me up. The other thing most people do is they set snooze alarms. Stop that. All you're doing is training your body to ignore your alarm. Snoozing your alarm is probably one of the worst things you can do, because you're giving your body the okay to ignore the alarm. So you'll notice that you'll have to set, one snooze alarm, then you have to set 2 or 3, 4, or 5. If you set all of those alarms and still aren't waking up, that's a you problem. Because you're setting multiple alarms, you're keying your brain saying, oh, but I've got 2 more alarms after this. So why should I wake up? What's the point? If your alarm's not working, switch to a different tone. You really want to train your body to wake up? Well, you should. I'm sorry, but a lot of people's issues is just that snooze alarm. I'm sorry, Infinite. I'm not trying to call you out, but if you feel called out by that, think about it. All you're doing is training yourself. You're doing basic behavior or Pavlovian conditioning. By setting those bells, you're telling yourself you have the okay to go back to sleep. But you're not awake enough to realize, oh, maybe that was the last alarm. How many times have you turned off an alarm, slept through it, and didn't realize it? How many of those alarms that you set for yourself do you even remember turning off? If you're not waking up enough to remember turning off your alarm and going back to sleep in between, you've already trained your body just to turn off the alarm. Now, if my wife was here, she could tell you that I used to have an absolutely atrocious sleeping pattern. I'm not calling you out from a point of, oh, I've never been that way. I'm calling you out from a point of experience. I used to have to keep going until I passed out, which sometimes could be 2 or 3 days without sleep. I couldn't go to sleep until I was exhausted. Like, it was just, that's just the way it was. And no, it wasn't. It was absolutely terrible. And it's why I couldn't keep jobs. It's why I couldn't do, I had very poor mental health. well-grained genes, as my doctors like to put it, I'm built different. I should be in absolute terrible health. When I was in my 20s, my doctor said that I should be in a wheelchair by now. I can still walk 2, 3, 4 miles. Not to that point. I did have a doctor say that he was pretty sure a 38 slug wouldn't penetrate my skull because I've had a thick skull. And I consider myself out of shape. I am nowhere in the shape I used to be. I mean, like I said, on ship, I mean, I literally was working 48 hours straight because we needed to get that done. Trick of genetics. That's all it is. But I took Valerian route to get my sleeping schedule back on track because my wife was very much into alternative methods to get things to work. And we tried a bunch of I've tried melatonin. I've tried some of these things and it didn't work. The one thing that did work was the Valerian route. I take a couple of pills, a pill, I can't remember how strong it was, and go to bed. And I started using meditation methods to cycle myself. And if I have a hard time going to sleep, I don't get up unless I have to go to the bathroom or something. I don't get up. I don't try to move around. What I do is I start counting or I start doing math problems because I hate math. I mean, you've heard it. It's an old wives', it's an old method, but it works. Count sheep. Do you know why? Because your brain's bored. It wants to get up. It wants to do something and you're not letting it. That's really what it is. Like word problems, number problems. There you go. And this isn't going to work for everyone. Trust me, this isn't going to work for everyone. I know that, but you have to find something that will work for you. I'm just telling you what works for me. I think about the color black, for meditation, and every time something tries to intrude, I just go back to thinking about the color black. Literally, instead of blanking my mind, I think about the color black. Just focus on the color black. And then, of course, that little voice in your head starts talking. Well, I have a question for you. Why does that little voice start talking to you? What is the freaking point of it talking to you? It's in your head. You already know what it's saying. Why does that little voice talk to you? There's no reason for that. So when that voice starts talking, I imagine, this little image of me, only monster-fied, being like naggy little bastard. And I treat it like it's a, it's a pane of glass and I just shatter the glass to where behind it is that black nothingness again. You need good advice? For what? Or are you asking me if I need good advice? Or somebody else? I do my best to, like I said, blank my mind. Whatever works for you. I choose the color black because the voice is that why it's talking to you? You need good advice? But Jade, it's already in your head. It's already there. You already know what it's going to say. You can't get good advice from yourself because you already know what you're going to say. That's really what it is. There's no reason to have that stupid little voice in your head. Unless you're engaging with it and talking to yourself and working these things out. Sure. Like having a conversation, a back and forth of, bouncing your ideas off the wall and talking to yourself and talking it down, you know, it's like picking it apart or something like that. Like when you're actively thinking about it, yeah, that makes perfect sense. But when you're trying to go to sleep, anything it brings up, you already know. Or at least you should, because it's in your head. There's no reason for it to be there. True. But, I mean, look at me. Who's going to call me out? Like, I mean, most people already assume I'm crazy. You know, I mean, that's all I'm saying is that we let our mind run wild and we're told it's okay. But do we ever really think about why it's doing it? Why is our brain talking to us? Why do we think we need good advice? And why do we need to give ourselves advice? Like, how does that even work? We already know what we're going to say. Do you really think your brain is, you know, bifurcated in split? Do you really think that your brain knows things you don't know? How would that work? So how can your brain give you advice? How can your brain do any of that? You already know what it's going to come up with. Everything it's ever going to say, you already know. I mean, you've seen it in TV, movies, whatever, you know, stories where somebody goes into their head and talks to themselves and finds the answers. And it's like, but that doesn't make any sense. You already knew that. Like, legitimately. And how many of us have parts of ourselves that we don't want to examine? Parts of ourselves that we don't like? I mean, everybody has those deep, dark corners that they're afraid of looking at. Well, you might have to in clean house. That might be what's going on up here. Subconsciously, but you already know what your subconscious is doing. We've fooled ourselves into thinking that our subconscious. Now, you may not always be cognizant or conscious of what you're doing, but you can almost always backtrack the information. Like, you do something without thinking, out of instinct or subconsciously. But if you take the moment to stop and think about it, why would you do this? I can guarantee you that you'll be able to figure out why you did it, for good or ill. I'm not saying it's always going to be right. I am saying that you'll be able to figure it out, why you did what you did. And if you take the time to figure it out, and maybe you did it wrong, you can correct that behavior in the future. It's one of the reasons why I say don't get on TikTok or short form medias. Don't get on YouTube Shorts, Reels, TikTok, because these things bypass your cognitive functioning. You're not thinking about what you're watching because it goes by too quick. It bypasses your short-term memory and goes straight to long-term. But because your brain has nothing to attach it to, it's just stuff that's floating around in there. Why do you think we're getting higher anxiety? Why do you think we're having a hard time sleeping? Because you have all this stuff bouncing around in there, and your brain is trying to associate that memory with something. It's trying to put the jigsaw pieces together. But because that piece of information bypassed your short-term memory, you have nothing to put it towards. So it's constantly trying to put it to something, some reason why we have it. And it doesn't, that's why your brain is going nuts. This is why I tell people, don't use short form media. I know for some people, oh, it's all I've got. It's the only time I've got. Well, you can pause a YouTube video a long term. If you have a hard time remembering where you were, restart it. Train your brain to have a longer attention span. You will thank me. Don't sit here and make excuses, because that's really what it is. Train your brain to have a longer attention span. Fight this junk food entertainment culture. Because just like with junk food, sure, every once in a while it's fine. But in all the time, all it's going to do is make you ill. It's going to make you ill. You know, and I almost guarantee you that that's a lot of why people have sleeping issues. Say you have a TikToker that you like watching. You know, that dungeon bartender Jade likes. I guarantee you they have longer form content on YouTube, or even just what is it called? Not connections, not collections of their stuff. I guess. I know that's not the word I'm looking for, but you know, collections all in one big. Well, reading faster, no. So reading faster to read faster isn't going to help you. First, you need to retrain the brain to retain the information. Reading faster will come with time. I mean, you can train your brain to, instead of read individual letters, read whole words. To treat words as a capsule of information in and of itself, without going through the step of seeing BRAIN. You can train your brain to read brain as one letter, so to speak, one symbol. But, well, here, which one is the longer word? To or need? I'm asking, which one's a longer word? To or need? You're obviously going to say need. It's 4 letters versus 2 letters. Wrong. They're the same length. Because they're both one symbol. Need isn't a collection of 4 letters. Need is one symbol. Same as to. To is one symbol. Not even for syllables. Not syllable, symbol. Need is a symbol. We use 4 letters to put together that symbol, but need is one symbol. To is one symbol. That symbol, when we read TO or when we read NEED, we don't bring up the 4 letters that it's made up of or the 2 letters it's made up of. We bring up every what that symbol brings in. So it's just one symbol, not 2 or 4 letters. It's just like, you know, what number's longer? 1 or 100? They're both the same. They're each one number. 100 is just the symbol we have for 100. But they're both one number. You know, it's learning to reconfigure your thought patterns, your thought process. It's learning to understand that what we're told is little bits of information is actually one big bit of information that you can contain all in one spot. But it's true. I mean, you got to think the density at which we use our alphabet. But most people don't realize that the alphabet contains every word that will ever be written and every word that has been written. Obviously. It's all there. But just assembling the letters in an order doesn't mean anything. It's the symbols that those letters create that mean something. You know, this is why I enjoy. They're each individual symbols. Each one. You know, when you think of Wednesday, there is probably Addams Family comes up, which may bring up, depending on how old you are, the original little girl actress from the early Addams Family, Christina Ricci, Jenna Ortega, which then brings up, you know, Morticia Addams, Gomez Addams, Fester. You know, it brings up all of these different things, and also the day. You know, it's one symbol. It's not that collection of letters. And we need to remember that our brain also, we wear pink on Wednesday. I'm sorry. I don't have anything. I do have something that has pink on it. But we forget that short form media, how about that symbol? Right. But right, we wear pink on Wednesday. Well, you can think of Wednesday wearing pink. Oh, wait, in the original TV show, in the original Addams Family TV show, see, this is where my brain goes. The walls were pink because it was a black and white show, and pink walls showed up better on black and white film than a white wall. So the actual Addams Family colors were more riotous than we ever want to think, which also probably means that their costumes that they were wearing, you know, i.e. Wednesday's dress, probably had a similar color palette. Maybe I'm wrong. But I know that the walls were pink. I know that they had to use different colors to get different tones of gray via the black and white film. See, that's how... Yeah. Yes. I mean, color grading is very important to movies. Just look at probably the single-handed thing that destroyed the Snyderverse of the DCU movie series of movies was his choice of color grading, was making the movies dark. And I don't mean just in subject. I mean literally in color. They were dark. Comic book characters should pop. It's one of the reasons why the original X-Men films didn't go as far as they should have. Because the colors weren't there. You didn't feel that these were fantastical people doing fantastical things. You felt that these were more realistic people, which put your expectations at a different spot. But the whole point I was talking about with the symbols, you know, understanding that words are symbols, is also to go back and think about your TikToks, what you watch on TikTok, how you watch TikTok, or short form media. I'm not trying to pick on just TikTok, but reels, shorts, you know, short form media. All you're getting is one symbol, which your brain really doesn't have the sentence it's supposed to go with. So it stores it and waits for more information. It waits for the complete information, which never happens because you scroll to the next one. You just keep going. Or it just auto plays the next one. I don't know. I don't know enough. Because I try not to watch it. I try to avoid that. Because you're not getting complete information. You're getting sound bites. You're getting headlines, but you're not getting the meat of the story. So what are you supposed to do with that? How are you supposed to understand? How are you supposed to move through that information and incorporate it if all you're getting is just these cute little bites that bypass your short-term memory that you can't even think of it later on? You have to keep going back to it. Your memory doesn't even store it properly. It's disposable. But your brain doesn't work that way. It's not disposable. So it holds on to it. Your brain's now becoming a hoarder. You have all this disconnected bits of things that you're trying to put in some kind of order. And for some reason, it decided to put the National Geographics, interspersed with, Scientific American. Sure, they're both reference categories, but of widely different, categories. And yeah, I mean, most of you probably barely know what I'm talking about. But, for most people, it'd be like shuffling comic books all together and not splitting them up into, the different runs of each comic book volume. For some comic book collectors, it's like you mix your DC with your Marvel. That's you shouldn't be doing that. But I'm just saying that we all have different ways of how we organize information. But short form media doesn't allow us to organize that information in a cohesive way. And maybe in the future, with enough introduction to this and stuff like that, right? I'm just saying, maybe we'll get to the point where we can. Oh, yeah. Well, okay. See, then right. Okay. Then you get to the other side of the story where they just drag it on for the ad revenue. But the funny thing is that we're not training ourselves to have an attention span. We're reducing our attention span. I mean, even think about your average streamer. Think about your average, YouTuber, and how many different bits of moving information they have. You have to do this cut, this cut, this cut. And then you have somebody like Raven. It's meant to play in the background. You might have some images, might be a black screen, depending on what he's doing. Well, okay, see, one, I would never click on that because Princess Kate, Camilla, I don't give two rips. I might shake a wet stick at him, but that's about it. And that's the problem with most of these celebrities is that they think that every little minutia of their lives is important and you're supposed to care. And some people really, really do. And the rest of us are looking at why. Right. No, I get that you were using it as an example. I would tell you that I would be hard pressed to find a news article today that would be worth reading. Absolutely. We don't have true journalists. Well, actually, I should say that the only true journalist I really know of is CoffeeZilla. And I know that for what he researches, for a lot of people, he's not going to be their cup of tea. But he's one of the few true journalists on YouTube. I'm sure there's others, but I really don't think that he has what would normally be considered an agenda. Another good one would be Good Work. I think that's the other one that I watch. But that guy got such a snarky attitude with both sides of the information that he just ends up becoming neutral, even if it seems like he's taking a side over here or trash talking this one. He'll flip-flop halfway through. It's actually pretty impressive, and I find it humorous to watch. And and I love how he films random locations in New York with real people. I think it's New York, where he's just standing on a street talking while people are just going by, like he's a news reporter telling a story, and you'll have some weird moments where people in the background are just kind of staring at him, and it works. It works for him bringing up the information, putting the information together. I don't know. Anyway, I know that one's done by Morning Brew. So he's got like this whole team behind him. So it's not like he's just an individual. Whereas CoffeeZilla, he's by himself. Well, I mean, I'm sure he has a team by now, but I'm not even sure if he's monetized his videos on YouTube or if he specifically goes through Patreon. I know that he will never take a sponsorship, and if he ever does, I'll cancel my subscription. I'll unfollow him, to be perfectly honest, because if he ever does that, I know he's compromised himself. Sponsorships are something that Coffee will never do, and I would love to be that kind of person. I would love to have that kind of following that I don't have to take sponsorships, that is just by people watching, just by people interacting, that I don't have to worry about it. It's just one of those things that we need to find sources we trust. We need to find sources that you trust, that you agree with. Yeah, there you go. You know, if that's a person that you trust, follow them. But be wary of the person that uses short form media to get your attention. Because then they're just offering you brain candy and not real information. They may believe it's real information because they're even deluded in it. I mean, it's hard to explain, but, and I know a lot of you watch TikToks. I know I'm stepping on some toes here, but just think about what you watch and how much of it you actually remember. Think about how much you're retaining of that information, and think about how many times this random crap hits you when you're trying to go to sleep. Think about how many times something out of the blue hits you when you're trying to go to sleep or when you're trying to focus on something else. And suddenly this random thing just pings off of your consciousness. And really ask yourself, where did that come from? Could that have been a TikTok or short form media that I don't remember even watching, but yet it's still up here somewhere, still rattling around trying to get your attention? But because there's nothing to attach it to, you don't know how to assimilate that data into your brain, into your memory properly. So it sits there and rattles around to no good. You know, I don't know how many times I'll turn on a YouTube and then I have to go do something, so I'll pause it. And I'll go do my stuff, come back, sit down, and finish it. Because I've trained my brain to remember where I was, remember the information, hold that in thought. Because I've done that key of pausing the video, now my brain knows to pause that in memory so I can go do what I'm doing, come back, unpause, and pick back up where I left off. Just like when you read a book. You put a bookmark in. You start reading. Do you remember everything that you read beforehand? If you don't, maybe you need to think about rereading the book. You know, sometimes we're a little slow in catching back up to the information. You know, it takes a page or two and it's like, oh yeah, now I remember what was going on. But, you know, I mean, I guess that's, you know, the best I can do to give you my cautionary tales. You know, I mean, it's the best I can do. I don't know what else to tell you. That we live in a society that is constantly asking for your attention, but hardly ever are they valuing it. Hardly ever are they appreciative of the attention you give them. You're supposed to be happy that you found their video, that you found their stream. But hardly ever are they actually valuing you and what you offer. You know, let alone validating your time spent. And I think that's probably one of the most important things is that follow things that value you and your beliefs and what you believe in. I don't care what it is. I mean, even if that means I lose you as a follower, I'm sorry. I don't, I never intended. But the fact is that you better damn well understand and follow those people that value you. And not by explicitly telling you, like me sitting here, I really value you guys, but through not through explicit means by, specifically naming you out, but through implicit means, by giving you good content, by making it worth your time to go there, rather than just sitting there, okay, you're here, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, or crap video. Sure, bird is the word. But what's the point of following Big Bird if bird is the only word? I mean, if bird is the word, where does big come in? And does he ever reference the fact that he's yellow and orange? Like, if bird is the word, what about the rest of him? Because he is a whole bird, an awful big one too. And we should pay more attention to the fact that there is a whole bird there. Could probably feed a family of 20 if you stuffed him right. I just don't know where you're going to get a roaster big enough. Oscar probably had the most important things to teach. True, I'm sorry, I'm being American centrist. But I can only speak to what I have experience at. Spit rotating, that's a good idea. Mm-hmm. So come next Thanksgiving, we really have to thank Big Bird for the bounty of this meal that the whole community is now eating off of. But anyway, folks, it is that time. I hope you had fun. Hope to see you again here tomorrow. And if not, hope to see you again soon. I'll be playing Borderlands 2 tomorrow. Either way, hope you had fun. Hope to see you here again soon. Let everyone be Muppets. Bye-bye.